In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, James has a few hot takes that he wants to get off. We are in Dallas, Texas, where the high today is supposed to be 107 degrees. So we'll find out if James's takes are hotter than the Dallas weather, because he has some thoughts about Egor Demin, Drake Powell, and Derik Queen. Because James thinks they are, I'll let him tell it. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, the director of scouting for NBA Big Board. And my co-host for today is none other than my brother, James Barlowe. I guess
What up?
I thought I had a title for you. I forgot. It's been a minute. I'm
I get a
still a
new
little
one.
I'm still a little rusty, man, from taking a few months off. But before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that it is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NBA. You can get $20 off your first purchase. Of course, terms apply. Game Time is my favorite app when it comes to buying tickets. And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. That is the best way that we can grow this channel. And right now it's kind of like the slow season. Not a lot of people are talking NBA draft, unless you are a draft enthusiast, which if you are watching this episode, I'm
hmm
almost certain you're a draft enthusiast to be wanting to hear about 2025 prospects in the middle of August. And August is known for being hot, and James has some hot takes. So the first one, what is the first hot take you have regarding the three players that I mentioned in the open?
All right, so we consider Cooper Flag to be a big, right? This
Yeah.
is not about Cooper Flag if you were looking for a hot take. The next big off the board in the way too early big board uh by me, I'm gonna have to go with Derik Queen as the next best big in this draft.
So you would
Now,
take Queen over Maluouch, Common Maluouch, the 7'2" Senegalese, or I'm sorry, not Senegalese, South
ooh,
Sudanese
oh man.
center that's going to Duke. You would take Queen over him?
Yes, today I would do that.
Now, I think that Queen is the better player right now. I just
And
think
he's older.
long-term NBA prospect, just because of Malo Ouch is listed at 7'2" and this upside. But I do think if they had to go heads up in the game right now, Queen would give him the work. But all right,
Here's
go
my
ahead.
thing. Listen, Queen, I guess you could say he has a couple concerns, but the biggest knock is that he is, and this is whether you want to take stock into it or not, because okay, first things first, he's gonna be an older freshman, right? So the last older freshman we looked at that came in with a lot of hype and it didn't necessarily work out for him was your boy from Kentucky, Justin Edwards. But the year prior, it was Brandon Miller. So it's kind of like, how much do you weigh into whether or not a freshman is older versus, I mean, it can go either way. At the end of the day, Derik Queen has big time skills,
Yeah.
Raf.
Yeah.
Like, pick one,
Why you
passing.
saying my name like I don't know?
Because I'm talking to you.
Okay.
Passing, shooting, mobility, touch around the basket, post moves. Like, I want the post game to come back full time. Right now it's real part time because it's just a handful of guys. It's Jokic, it's Embiid, it's Şengün, it's somebody else if I'm forgetting. But then most of the guys that are bigs are rim runners. But like Derik Queen he just has a lot of skill. And if the defense checks out, I don't see why a team wouldn't take him in the top 10. And again, I know Maluach is younger, but at the same time, he's more raw. I think Derik Queen is legit.
Yeah,
Legit, legit.
Maluach is definitely raw and cooked, but Queen is 19 for those that are wondering. He's 19 and he'll turn 20 on December 27th. I like him. My first time watching him play, I believe it was against Sunrise Christian, and he just dominated that game. But it wasn't like in the traditional fashion. It was post work, passing, just making all the right plays. He is a guy, and we say this every year for a prospect, but he's a guy that I think if this were 2005 draft instead of 2025, we'd be talking about him as a top 10 pick on every single board. But you have him
Top
top.
five on every single
Well,
board.
I was just being a little conservative, but you have him as a top 10 pick. So my question for you is, I know the game is a lot different and it doesn't
Yes.
necessarily feature guys on the block. Why? And he's 6'10, he's listed at 6'10, which, when you see a guy listed at 6'10, sometimes you wonder, like, all right, at the combine, is he going to be 6'8 and a
Yeah.
half? So, what skills do you think Queen has that can overcompensate for his lack of or for just the way the game has changed? And is he a Shingun type to you?
Yes. I think he's a Shingun type. And again, if you sit here and say, well,
Alperen Shingun, the center for the
Alfred
Houston
Şengün,
Rockets,
excuse me.
for
Yes.
those that don't know.
I mean, Alfred Şengün was like 21, 9, and 5, right?
Hmm.
And I know he, isn't the rim protector that you would want him to be. And, people think long term, can you win with the Rockets with him playing heavy minutes at the 5? I get all of those concerns. I think Derik Queen has Alperen Şengün type skills where, you know what, we give him the ball on the block, he's gonna score. We can and dribble a handoff. He's going to be able to make every single play in dribble handoff. And he can rebound and push the ball up the court. Like there's just so much to like about him on offense. I don't want to overthink it. I'm not going to overthink it on this smoking hot August Monday that it is. I think he's a top 10 pick for sure. Would be my second big off the board if you say flag is a big.
All right. Can you tell me about, in your opinion, how his physical attributes actually help him? There's some that think that it hurts him because he's not necessarily jumping out the gym. There are some people that have concerns about his weight. And really, guys built like how he's built, there's always kind of like this. I'll just say if a guy was 6'10", 220 and was jumping out the gym, that is always looked at as being more favorable than a guy that's like 6'10", 245, wide shoulders, that is a traditional post player. But tell me how you think like his physical attributes actually help him.
Well, here's the thing, like when you are naturally a big dude and you're still able to be mobile, you have a physical advantage. Like let's look at the example of, and he's not Jokic, but like let's say Jokic is, I don't know, 275, right? Like that's what he walks around at. He didn't bulk up to get to 275. Anthony Davis is probably the best defender. I think he might be the best big defender past 15, 20 years, him and Draymond. His weight advantage Jokic has that over Anthony Davis, who has bulked up to like 260, is still it's a huge difference. That's somebody that's lifted weights, that's gained weight to try to play 5 and try to bang, versus a dude that walks around at that, does all that other crazy stuff that Jokic does. Like just the natural strength is gonna be a physical advantage. No, he doesn't play above the rim, but he does dunk the ball like in traffic. You know what I'm saying? He is a below the rim finisher, but he's not glued. He's not a bad athlete, is what I'm saying. I get it. The lob threat, like all of that stuff is cool and it's appreciated, but sometimes you just need, I think you need to, if a guy he can defend at a high level or at a good enough level and has that kind of offensive skill set, just give him the ball on the block and let him go to work. Like he'll create mismatches, he'll create double teams, he can still work out at a high post. Jump shot looks good. I don't know how real some of that. I think there was some film from like some Maryland, like just whatever they have going on right now. And he was like shooting, I guess the kids call it the jimmies. Like he has like legit like guard game too. So I just don't want to overthink. I get there are limitations, but like, you can't throw lobs every trip down the court. It does help, but okay, we look at teams like the Mavs have vertical lob threats, but can you give those guys the ball on the block to score? Absolutely not. And in that
They were
turn,
giving Gafford the ball. They were trying to give Gafford the
they were
ball in the
trying, but I
finals.
mean, you can tell that he's not comfortable doing that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And again, I like Daniel Gafford, but like, he's not gonna make his living that way. And I'm not saying that Derik Queen should make his living, dunking, but it's another look, and it's a look that you don't get to see a lot in today's NBA.
All right, real quick before we go to break, I got a question. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat here.
It's
All right,
high, it's
we
high, so it's high.
so what is the difference between Derik Queen and Jahlil Okafor?
I knew
Right?
you were gonna ask me the
So
difference between
so
Jaleel Okafor.
when
I
I
knew it.
watch Okafor, I still think like, man, there's got to be a team that he can help. He slimmed down, and you talk about post skills,
Hmm.
footwork, touch around the rim, the ability to overpower defenders. Because I think even with Okafor's lost weight, that's just natural strength
Yeah.
that he has. And so, in your opinion, what's the difference between Queen and Okafor? Like Okafor today, because Okafor still is what the number two pick,
Man, listen, I thought
three
Jaleel
pick,
Okafor
something like
was going
that.
to be that guy,
He had a really
and
good rookie year.
he had a ton of game. I think that Queen is already a better playmaker, a better passer. That's going to be a huge difference. Maybe some people thought Jaleel Okafor was a black hole, but I mean, I get it. I wouldn't pass either if I was, that nice on the block. I understand, but Queen can actually like legit pass. Like, you play him 30 minutes a game, he should be a 3, 4 assists per game kind of guy. Like pretty easily. I think he has that kind of passing talent. I think that's going to be the main difference. We'll see how well the defense checks out, though.
All right, when we return, we're going to talk about BYU freshman Russian sensation Egor Demin. But let's talk about better help, because I want to ask you, what are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip leg day. Maybe you should think about never skipping therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids, activities, big work projects, and more, it is very easy to let your priorities slip. And even when we know what makes us happy, sometimes it's difficult to make time for it. But when you're feeling like you have no time for yourself, your non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. So if you are ever thinking about starting therapy, you got to give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online. It is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. And remember, this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. But never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. And you can visit betterhelp.com/locked-on-NBA to get 10% off your first month. That is betterhelp.com/locked-on-NBA. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. All right, once again, thank you. And when I say thank you, I'm legitimately saying thank you. I appreciate each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. Now, for your second, I want you to check out the Locked On NBA podcast, because there is no offseason in the NBA on the Locked On Network. And Locked On NBA provides you with daily analysis from local and national experts, and you get it in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed or as entertained as Locked On NBA. It is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, I want to hear your thoughts on Egor Demin. You have him as no, yeah, I was about to say. I always keep wanting to call him Egor Denim, but
Yes, I wanted to hear you say. I know it's demean,
yeah.
but it looks like denim if you halfway look at it.
Yep. So, and you believe he's also a top 10 pick. So I want to hear you share your thoughts, and then I'm gonna tell you my thoughts on Igor.
So he's 6'9", right? Like that's automatically a green flag. 6'9", pick and roll, playmaking forward, maybe some point forward ability. He's a lot of wiry, but he'll try to bang on you in traffic. I saw that a lot. Uh, and he does lack upper body strength, but I think he's still like a good athlete, and he's got some 3 level like scoring ability to his game. I really like him, man. In this draft, like at the wing position, if we say Trey Johnson's a wing, if we say VJ Edgecombe is a wing guard, whatever you want to call it, off the ball. I like Demin a lot. And he's in a situation where he's gonna have the ball in his hands a lot too at BYU because he's gonna be the guy. I think he's gonna put himself in position to have a really, really good year, especially considering all the skills that he does have. Like he can shoot, pass. handle the ball, has a little bit of sauce. Like I like him a lot.
Yeah, shout
Obviously,
out.
we're talking about him.
Yeah, shout out to Igor. Igor's a guy that I've been following, I guess I want to say since maybe it was the summer of 2021. I know that he played for the Russian national team. It may have been like U15 or 16, I forget whatever it was. And then due to all the stuff going on in Russia, he hasn't been able to compete for, the national team in a few summers. And I think that's kind of, on one hand, I think it may have hurt him a little bit as far as his buzz because, every year during the summertime, you get to see these guys represent their countries. I mean, you look at like Hugo Gonzalez playing for the Spains at the U17s and U18s and U19s and so on. And Igor just hasn't had that summer platform. So a lot of people have been just limited to watching him play for Real Madrid, which is a team that is loaded with talent. You don't necessarily get the opportunity to, for lack of a better term, get loose because you're playing with, I mean, that team has, in my opinion, 7 or 8 guys that could be or will be Division I prospects and a few guys that are NBA prospects. And so he's definitely had to like sacrifice some individual statistics or whatever. But I've had a chance to watch him play live a couple of times. I went to Madrid last summer. I'm not last summer,
Mhm.
last fall. I ended up talking to him. I was trying to get him to come on the podcast, and he's so focused on basketball. He was just like, I just want to focus on basketball. And I mean, respect to him for that, but he's just big, big. I mean, he's just a guy that's really focused on basketball. So I went to the game and I ended up talking to him after the game, right? And so the first thing I thought was like, this dude is big. Like on one hand, because he has such like a baby face. You ever seen like a high school kid with a baby face, and then you like see him in person or like see him not from like the court, but like right next to him? You're like, dang, this dude, he's a legit 6'8", maybe even bigger.
BYU's listing him at 6'9".
6'9", that
Yeah.
that's fair. And I mean, he might not even be done growing. But when I first started like tracking him, I thought he was more so labeled as a shooter, a guy that could really shoot. He did have some inconsistencies with his shot over the season, but he is, to me, you can't label him as a shooter. I think he's a point forward. He can play with the ball in his hands. He can play pick and rolls, makes live dribble passes, has enough wiggle. And I liked everything that I saw from him. And even then, I felt like he was in a system that restricted him and wasn't allowing him to showcase all that he has. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. In your opinion, like what is his standout skill? Like what is the skill set he can hang his hat on that's going to help him have a long NBA career, in your opinion?
Well, like you mentioned, him being able to be a point forward is going to be huge for him because now we don't just have to like, if he's off, he can play pick and roll, make plays for others, make plays for himself. And I know you mentioned it, him not being able to play for his home country has kind of like hurt his buzz, but he's been able to come over here during the summertime and like work out with guys. So
Yep.
like that adjustment to, I guess, the athleticism, the speed of the game, just basically how we play, like that's valuable to me. And I think, more of the higher ranking foreign kids should do it a couple of summers. And then I think they actually are starting to. But him being a point forward is going to be huge for him. Like I said, he the best shooter? No, but he can shoot. Is he a great passer? No, but he can pass. So it's kind of like he's going to be like a 6'9", like jack of all trades kind of guy. And like I said, at BYU this year, it looks like he's going to have full reign to handle the ball and do everything that he wants to do. So I think he has a ton of talent. And if you told me if it were between him and Trey Johnson, I know, or Liam McNeely, like who's the other one? We'll talk about Drake Powell. I think he does more than all of those guys do, but it's sometimes I understand it's not necessarily about how much you can do, is what you do really, really well. But I really like Egor Demin.
And two things about Igor. One, like you said, he has been coming over to the States. He's like kind of on the Luka Doncic plan with, I mean, they have the same agent to where he was coming over during the summer, working out in Santa Barbara, WME, kind of getting a feel for like playing against and with NBA players in the summer. I know when I talked to him, he mentioned that he was playing a lot with Danny Green last summer. Another thing that I want to mention that I thought was a genius decision, which I think is going to really help his draft stock is I think he went to the right school that puts him in the right situation.
That's
And
half the battle, Rob.
it's half the battle. I had this conversation with somebody recently, and they were like, "Why are these kids going to this school if they're not gonna?" And I'm like, man, I just think NIL is so influential. Now, me and Leif had an episode where we talked about it, and I heard Egor got a nice chunk of change, but I thought the school that he went to was perfect. He's playing in a power conference. He's going to play in a system where he's going to have freedom. And my concerns with Trey Johnson is he going to get on ball reps at Texas, or are they going to have him off the ball? If you have him on ball, then I think that's going to help his draft stock. If you just kind of turn him into like a catch and shoot guy, and then I don't know if that's going to be the best for his draft stock. And then even with Drake Powell, who we're going to talk about in the next segment, I think that he has an uphill battle to climb to like really showcase his potential in year one. But I thought Egor made the right decision. BYU, it's like I said, it's in a major conference. He's going to get the opportunity to play against other elite talent, but he is not going to a team where there's a bunch of guys that are trying to, I mean, everybody's trying to eat, but it's not the same situation as like Trey Johnson or even Drake Powell. So I thought him going to BYU was genius, and I think there's a chance that because he chose the right school, his draft stock is going to be impacted in a good way over some of the guys' wings in his class.
1,000% agree. We'll have another podcast about Trey Johnson about that decision on another day. So
Man, I like Trey Johnson a lot, man.
I do
I know
too.
you do too. I know you do. I know you're probably the driver of the Trey Johnson fan club or Trey Johnson fan bus, whatever it is. All right. Next segment, we're going to talk about Drake Powell, a guy that I really, really like. I think that he is a top 10 pick in this draft, but I don't know if he's going to get the opportunity to show he is a top 10 pick. But before we get into Drake Powell, I want to talk about Game Time. Game Time is my absolute favorite app when it comes to buying tickets because you can take out the guesswork of buying tickets and concerts to plays and theaters by going to Game Time. Game Time has, I mean, it's just absolutely the best app when it comes to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. They have all-in pricing. Now you have to turn on the feature, just toggle this feature, but it shows you the total price up front. There's no surprises at checkout, and I like it simply because you know you're getting. If the ticket is $50, it's not like a situation where you go to the checkout and the ticket jumps to $115. They have views of the seat, which is very important. You get a panoramic view of the seat in the app before you buy. They have a lowest price guarantee, and they will credit you 110% of the difference if you can find a ticket cheaper. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. I've used Game Time to buy tickets to Yankees games, Dallas Wings games, All-Star Weekend events. I used Game Time to buy tickets to the Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fight. I don't know why I lost my train of thought for a second, but I'm a big fan of Game Time. And so you can use Game Time also. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. All you have to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code locked on NBA. You can get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, all you have to do is create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDON NBA, and you can get $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, last segment. Drake Powell is someone that I'd say within the last week or so, just kind of rewatching his film and studying up on him, rewatching it again. I like him a lot more today than I did, let's say, 6 months ago. But after like watching his film last week, I'm like top 10. Like I see this guy has everything that you need to be successful in today's NBA. The only thing I think that's going to hold him back, and we'll talk about that, is I mean, you got what's RJ Davis, you got Ian Jackson, you got him, you got Cadeau. Anyway, I want to hear your thoughts on Drake Powell and his strengths.
Hey man, look, long story less long, he got game, man. Like athleticism, elevation on his jump shot, getting
Shot
off the
maker.
ground, huh?
Shot maker.
Shot maker, two dribble pull up game,
Hmm.
quick out of triple threat. Like he can handle the ball, and he has like some playmaking ability. And he's like what probably is my favorite thing about him, and this is not a shot at Ace Bailey, right? I think he is Drake Powell is unselfish.
Yeah.
So looking at like his high school film, and again, I don't know anything about his high school. I don't know anything about Ace Bailey's high school film or high school just in general. But like Drake Powell played the four in high school because he was asked to play the four, but he scored within the system. And when it was time to go get a bucket, he still could go get a bucket, right? So like he trusted the offense, right? Played within the offense, and he was still a 5-star recruit, all of that stuff. Backdoor cuts, he would post up, like he did everything. And I feel like, which is this is kind of weird in a sense because I feel like there's still some value in going to a regular high school because it forces you to just kind of like do everything and just you got to win. I'm
That,
the
that
reason why
that
we
that
have to
that's a
win.
huge debate in Texas right now. That's
That's a
all
huge
everybody's
debate in
talking
Texas.
about.
We can do another podcast on that too if you want to. I think that there's still value in going to high school and being the man and understand that if I don't have a good game, we don't win. And versus, going to a prep school like I looked at Montverde, they got like 5 first-round picks out there. Like
Yeah.
I understand that you get better within practice, but like you kind of train you to me, you're playing a role. And eventually you do have to play a role, but I'm not trying to do that in high school, no way. But like just comparing like Drake Powell and Ace Bailey, like Ace Bailey was the man on his team. His team wasn't very talented as far as, his level of talent, but he took a lot of tough shots. And I think there's going to be an adjustment period for him to like scale down what's a good shot versus what's a okay shot versus what's a bad shot. And I feel like Drake Powell playing that role at the high school that he went to where he was unselfish, like he does it. And even at the AAU level, like he was unselfish. You know what I'm saying? Like he was not playing, excuse me, because I'm a 5-star recruit. Like he was like, I'm trying to win games. And I think that is going to translate for him at North Carolina. But I just wish he never went to North Carolina. Because like you said, we know RJ Davis, 7-year vet, feels like. He's about his buckets. We know Ian Jackson is definitely about his buckets. So it's like, where does Drake Powell get to show you everything that he has? Where does that come into play? Is he gonna be like where my man Stefan Castle was last year, where he's like, you know what, you're gonna have to check some of my old tape to figure out what I can do because I'm gonna play this role and it's gonna work out in my favor. It worked out in that particular draft, but is it gonna work out for Drake Powell? I don't know.
Yeah, if I'm Drake Powell, I would have did the Trey Young. Even though like,
Ah,
Trey Young did grow up in Norman, so it was, close to home. But I would maybe like Igor, I would have went to a Power 5 school in a good conference. I would have went
bruh.
to a team that's like, okay, they got some veterans around me, and I would have tried to get loose. But I mean, at the same time, when you're 17, 18, 19 years old, it is definitely hard to turn down North Carolina and I imagine going on a visit and so on. But let's talk about this game. And I want to I guess cover some of the stuff that you said. So one of the things I have on Drake Powell is I think he's one of the most gifted isolation scorers in the 2025 draft class. But like you said, he's unselfish. He can play
Yes.
ISO ball, but at the same time, he can make the right plays, make the right reads. He is, in my opinion, I think he's an impressive shot creator, like as far as like the handle, and he just knows how to create space and get separation. He changes speeds off the dribble. He knows how to shift gears. He's athletic. Sometimes he looked like a natural power forward the way he was dunking off two, dunking with two hands and cutting to the rim. Quick first step, shoots over smaller defenders. Um, but here's the thing that I like about him, and this is what I have in my notes. Although he has the makings of a professional scorer, Powell is not afraid to do the dirty work. He works the offensive glass, has a quick second jump. He gets points on offensive rebound putbacks. He finds cutters with his passing. He passes the ball ahead in transition. Like there's so
Little
many
stuff like
things.
that makes a
Yeah.
huge difference, man.
Yeah, like one of the things that I feel like his scoring and athleticism overshadows his passing, but he at such a young age understands I can draw two defenders and then I can find one with an open shooter. And then we haven't even talked about like the defense, the intensity, the motor that he plays with. I just hope that he just really gets an opportunity to show everything that he has. I mean, I know it's not going to be his team, but I think this guy is. I'm really high on him. And then I forgot it was somewhere. I guess he was at some event recently. Maybe it was that Nike. It was the Nike Elite Skills Academy that they had, and everything I heard was that he was one of the better players there. So he's a guy that I'm really looking forward to watching. And I agree with you. I would take him in the top 10 as of
See,
today.
here's my thing. Because he understand, let's just flat out call him a high IQ basketball player. Because he's a high IQ basketball player, I think he'll be fine at North Carolina, right? Because he's gonna do all the little things that, like Paul George said he didn't want to do anymore. He'll do all those things, and he'll showcase the athleticism too. Now, will he get to have the ball in his hands like we want him to? Probably not. But I think it may be a similar situation to the Stephon Castle thing where it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and check his old tape, see he has more, but he did sacrifice to help the team win, and that's gonna look good. And he may have enough opportunities to show us just enough that he is more than a role player. But like you said, I wish he would have went somewhere else. But I trust him because he is a high IQ basketball player, and like you said, like a 18-year-old kid that's unselfish with all that talent is you don't see that like at this age.
Yeah. No, he like I said, he just has everything I personally like as far as competitive fire. He can get you a bucket, but at the same time, like just the passing, like I said, passing the ball ahead, drawing two defenders, kicking out to open shooters, and he's got some buckets. He's a guy that if his shot isn't falling, he can impact the game on the defensive end with hustle plays and by being a playmaker. So I'm really high